I'm sitting on a stool and it's really creaky. So I'm going to try not to move my butt too much so it doesn't creak, but if it creaks, sorry. So anyway, okay, so the first thing that I'm going to tell you guys about is my birthday was in July, and my mom gave me $100 to buy myself a present with, and I bought a box set of the Dark Tower series. Now, I did read the series when I was in my 20s. I think it wasn't actually finished until I was in my very early 30s. I believe that's when the last book came out. I have to look up the publishing date, but I believe that's when. And even though I read the series, I don't really remember reading the series. I remember reading the first 3, but I don't really have any direct memories of reading the rest except for just little bits and pieces. So I'm not 100% sure that I finished it. I don't even remember how it ends. So I'm going to reread the series. But one of the things I did when I was reading it before is I was not a fan of horror fiction. So I really hadn't read any Stephen King except for just a couple of his books. And I have since learned that a lot of the things in Stephen King's book tie into the series, and that he's got this whole Kingverse and everything, which I didn't know anything about, of course. So now I've decided before I read the series this time, I'm going to read all the books that tie in, or at the very least, the books that seem to tie in the most. That would be the most important to read. So I did some research online, and here are the books that seem to be the most important ones to read. And if you guys know of any other books, if you read the series and you know of any other books that would be really important to read before reading the series that I don't have on this list, let me know in the comments. So the first one is Salem's Lot. I'll put the cover images over here. Salem's Lot, The Stand, The Talisman, It. I had never planned to read It. I'm not really looking forward to that. Eyes of the Dragon. I actually have already read Eyes of the Dragon, but I read it when I was in junior high and I really don't remember it. Insomnia, Hearts of Atlantis, Everything's Eventual, which is apparently a collection of short stories, and the short story to focus on is The Little Sisters of Illyria. Ninja Kitty is over here on my recliner, and he desperately wants to jump over to my lap, but I'm on a stool, and so he's not sure of the footing. I hope he doesn't jump over here and claw my leg. Nope, he's laying down to sleep. Okay, so the other books are The Regulators, when he was writing under Richard Bachman, Desperation, and The Shining. So those are the Stephen King books that seem to tie, according to the stuff I read online, that tie into the Dark Tower series. And then there's also some books by other authors that tie into the series. I probably won't read all these, but I might read some of them. I don't know. I'm hoping that some of you guys have read the series and can offer up opinions on what books like you really think I should read or that aren't really necessary for me to read beforehand to get the most out of the Dark Tower is what I mean. Let's see. Nosferatu by Joe Hill. Shardik by Richard Adams. You know what? Am I leaving room for the cover images? Gotta keep myself to the side. Okay, Childe Roland, To the Dark Tower Came by Robert Browning, which, as very clearly, and what I read, is that was what inspired Stephen King to write the series in the first place. The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. The Deathland series by Jack Adrian and James Axler, and I am certainly not going to read an entire series before I read the Dark Tower series. so that probably won't get read. I might just read like a synopsis of the series so I get the basic idea. Let's see. Nyarlathotep by H.P. Lovecraft. I have not read that one. I have read a little bit of Lovecraft. La Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. Well, I'm not going to read that one because that's Arthurian fantasy, and I already have The Once and Future King, so I'm not going to read. And I know all about King Arthur. I've read tons of King Arthur stuff, so I'm not going to read that book. And then there are 3 that I have others. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by Frank L. Baum. I have already read that. The Harry Potter series, I have never read, and I have zero intentions of ever reading. The Never-Ending Story by Michael Ende, and I have also read that. So you guys let me know what you think of that list. If you've read the Dark Tower series, let me know if you think those books are relevant to the series. Did I miss any that would be relevant? Can I just X some of those off? Because I'm absolutely not going to read all of those books beforehand, but I do at least want to read the Stephen King novels. So you guys offer some opinions on that. And then I thought I would just let you know that I finished reading We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. I won't talk about it in this except for that I loved it, because I'm going to do a dedicated review for this book, and I'll have that posted up sometime in the next 7 days or so. So you can look for that if you're interested. But I am making my way through all of Grady Hendrix' books. I'm just a Grady Hendrix fan. I just love his writing, and I love how clever he is, and I love his plots. They're very imaginative. I love his fresh take on all these old tropes and monsters. Just loving it. And I'm actually reading all the Grady Hendrix books with my friend Belle. Hi, Belle. The other book that I'm reading right now is Crisis in the Red Zone by Richard Preston. If you guys watch my previous videos, you know that I did a review for the Hot Zone. I'll link it up here. And this is the follow-up to that, and it came out last year before COVID-19. And if you guys read this book, you're going to be shocked and horrified, quite frankly. And I'll just leave it at that. I haven't finished it yet, though. And I'm also buddy reading this with Sandy. Hi, Sandy. Okay, and then another book I am working on is Becoming Wild. I was very, very excited. Oh, by Carl Safina. We don't want to forget the author. I was really, really excited to read this book, and then I started reading it, and after 123 pages, I was absolutely bored out of my mind. And it's not the book's fault. It is not the book's fault. The book is, I love the writing style. I like his writing, but I don't know. I think I just don't like animals. Most of the nonfiction that I read and most of the documentaries that I watch are all about space and history, specifically ancient history, and genetics and medical things. So land animals are not my bag, baby. I've just decided animals bore me. I don't even watch animal documentaries, so I don't know why I thought that this would be so good that I would think that I would like this. I should have known better. However, I hate to just not finish it because I have started it, and the information in it is very good information. I'm not sure I care for the way that Carl Safina has presented the information. It's not very linear. So he keeps, like in the whale portion, he switches, to dolphins, to orcas, sperm whales, and then he's just kind of like all over the map a little bit with it. And that's probably fine. I mean, like I said, the writing style was really good, and I'm sure somebody who is more into animals would find this very, very interesting and would really like it. But like I said, it's really not for me. But I do want to finish it. So what I've done is I've switched to the audiobook. The audiobook is going much, much better for me because I can't take notes when I'm reading an audiobook or when I'm listening to an audiobook because I'm always doing other things. I don't feel the need to take notes on this book because I'm not really, because it's kind of boring. So I am going to finish the audiobook, and so I am going to talk about it. I will do a review for the audiobook when I'm done. Another book that I am currently working on is Alien Oceans by Kevin Peterhand. And this book I do like a lot more than Becoming Wild. However, the thing that Becoming Wild has that this one does not have is really interesting and entertaining writing. This is so dry. Like the first 50 pages or so are good, and then it just, it turns into super dry. That's all I gotta say about it. But the information is so good that I am interested in continuing it. I really, really, and I'm hoping, like I'm not terribly far in. I'm on page, what page am I? I'm on page 93, so I'm not terribly, terribly far in. So I'm hoping that it will his delivery of this information will pick up because the information itself is fantastic. I love the information in this book. Sorry, my Voxer is going off. I hope you guys didn't hear that, but you probably did, and I think I just covered up my mic too. Oh well. So anyway, yeah, the information, and this is really good. If you, I watch a lot of documentaries, and I've watched several documentaries where they talked about the fact that there's possibly life in these oceans that are on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. And it's really, really exciting, and it's really, really interesting to know that and to think about those possibilities. It's going to be a while before we know that, but it's very exciting. And I wasn't sure. I was just like, well, I don't know if there's going to be any new information about that in here. Yes, there's new information about that in here. A plethora of information in here. He goes into total depth. about life in oceans and the possibility of them on those moons. And you get kind of a history lesson too. Like I found out about the first deep sea dive and all kinds of really interesting stuff. So the information in here is fantastic. The writing is dry. Hopefully it picks up. Okay, and then another book that I'm working on. I don't know if you guys, those of you guys who do watch me regularly, you might remember that a month ago, I did a video with my mom where she picked the next book that I was going to read. And I did pick this up and start reading it as my next book. But I am not a memoir person, and I am also not into stories about drug addiction. But both of those things usually just bore me to tears. So I was not excited to pick up this book, and I started reading it. I'm about 20 pages in. No, I'll take that back. I'm about 43 pages in. So it's fine for somebody who likes memoirs and drug addict stories. Her writing's pretty good. I'm not even going to down the book, because so far, if this were my thing, I would think I would really like it. So not the book's fault, not my kind of story. So I keep dragging my feet about getting back to it. But I've got to get back to it, because I'd really like to do a follow-up video where my mom and I sit down and talk about this book. So I will get to that this coming month. Another book that I'm going to read in this coming month is The Good House by whatever the devil her name is. Let me take a look at this. Tananarive? Tananarive Do? You tell me. So this is the pick for Rachel's book club over at the Shades of Orange, and it's a haunted house story. And so I'm definitely going to be reading this next month. Since I've been exploring all of this horror, I've discovered that I really like haunted house stories. Really like haunted house stories. Another book that I know that I'm going to be reading this month is Occupy Space by Grady Hendrix. Again, Buddy reading all of Grady Hendrix books with my friend Belle. And this is science fiction, and I cannot wait to read this. And look how tiny it is. I'll zip through that in a day. And then another book that I'm going to read. I feel a little guilty purchasing this book, but I can't help myself because I just have to know. I just have to know. Yes, I bought Too Much and Never Enough by Mary L. Trump. I generally do not go in for any kind of book or television show where people are essentially digging up dirt on each other. I think it is in poor taste to do that sort of thing. So I generally don't like to do that. However, she's part of the family. She has a PhD. She's a psychologist. I couldn't help myself, and I feel a little guilty about it. But yeah, I have to read all the dirt on Trump. I can't help it. So anyways, that's pretty much my reading update. You know, a lot of you guys do comment on my videos and stuff. But you know, if any of you guys are reading any of these books, or think you might want to read these when I read them, I keep very careful track of all my books on Goodreads. So if you're ever interested in reading something at the same time that I'm reading it, just check my Goodreads, and you can see like what I'm reading and where I'm at in the book, because I'm religious about updating my page count, updating my place in the book, my page, and all that. And I have all my books shelved. All the books that are in the house anyway are shelved and organized into physical books that I own, Kindle books that I own, and then books that I have already read, I have organized into categories as well. So if any of you guys are curious about that, check my Goodreads. And if you're on Goodreads, make sure that you add me to your friends list, because I'm very snoopy about other people's books. I love to see what other people are reading, how they've rated those books, what their written reviews might be if they've made written reviews, their videos if they've made the videos. And I'm very snoopy. So I like to know what you're reading and what you're doing with your books. And if you are on my friends list, I can guarantee I've already been to your profile and I've snooped through all of your shelves. So that's all for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See, I said it. I said I would never say it, and I said it.